Alrighty, everyone, welcome back to another episode of In Depth with David. This is the sixth. Is this the fifth or the sixth recap? Hold on, I think I have it right here. Okay, recap number 5.
5, yeah.
So this is the 5th Red Sox series recap. The Red Sox just a little over an hour ago finished a 4-game series against the Chicago White Sox. It was the battle of the Red Sox versus the White Sox. So we're about to get into it. I won't do what we did the last couple of times where we spoil who won how many games in the series and all that jazz because I don't want any haters in the comments or whatever. So nonetheless, I'm joined by my good friend Ricky once again. Ricky, how are you doing today?
Just hanging in there. Good game. I won't say the results for obvious reasons, but good game. Pretty fun series. Pretty enjoyable. A little rough at times, but definitely a lot of noteworthy particular players and particular moments. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I thought it was a generally inconsistent series from both teams. I can't say too much because I don't want to spoil it. I'm trying not to bury the lead like we've done, but there was some things I liked in this series, some things I didn't like. We'll get into that. But before we start, what were your thoughts on the Red Sox or the jerseys that they were wearing this weekend? They wore these special marathon jerseys Saturday and also yesterday for 3 of the 4 games in the series. If you haven't seen the jerseys, to everyone watching, they kind of look like they are the UCLA colors, and it's a jersey to commemorate the Boston Marathon. It has like a 617 tag on the shoulder sleeve. So what do you think of those jerseys?
I don't know. I personally am not a fan of the color scheme because it's so out there compared to what we typically get, the basic Red Sox colors. So I don't like it in that sense, but I do like the meaning behind it for obvious reasons. And I think it's really cool that the Red Sox now have like a jersey that reflects upon a really important day for this city. So I think that, and having the 617 patch on the side arm sleeve, I think that was a really nice touch too. Obviously, Patriots Day is really special, regardless of the attack that happened. But it's in that sense, I really like them. But in the color scheme, I don't know how to feel about it. But yeah, it kind of reminded me too of the LA Rams, the blue and the yellow colors that they have, and UCLA as well. So it felt kind of like almost LA-ish to me. But I like it in the sense that I love the meaning behind it, and I think it's really cool in that sense. But yeah, I think the colors were really jarring, at least to me. I don't know how you felt, but
yeah, no, I'm completely with you. I like the idea behind the jersey, making a jersey to commemorate once again the marathon and the significance it is to the city of Boston, because it's one of our favorite pastimes here in Massachusetts. You catch the Patriots Day morning game with the Sox, and then you can catch the end of the marathon. It's great. It's a great tradition. But yeah, the jerseys, like, did they forget we're the Red Sox? There was not a touch of red in the jersey. It was blue,
right.
Yellow. I thought they were cool. I would definitely not pay $135 for it. I don't know if you saw that's how much it costs on the team
crazy.
shop. Yeah, crazy. I would not pay that much for it, but hey, I mean, it's a cool jersey. Again, it's just weird how that didn't have a touch of red in it, considering that's one of our main colors. But anyways, we're going to get into the series here. So game 1 between the Red Sox and the White Sox. The pitching matchup was Nick Pivetta versus, what's his first name? Dylan Cease. Once again, the Red Sox get off to a slow start. We've talked about this, I feel like, in all our recaps. And I guess we're not like the other fans where when you see the Red Sox get off to a slow start, you're just like, we'll rebound, like no big deal. Like, this is becoming a recurring issue for the team, getting off to these slow starts. Do you agree with me on that?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not as rational as these other fans where we can keep coming back every game after we get off to slow starts. So in this game, Jose Abreu, who was almost a Red Sox way back when he was coming into the majors, the Red Sox put in a bid for him, but the White Sox outbid Boston to get him. He's able to get an RBI double to bring in Adam Eaton in the first inning. And then I think his name's Yasmin Mercedes. Is that his name? I'm trying. Yeah. I'm
it's
just
Yerman, I believe. Mercedes,
Yerman.
like the
Yep.
last name. I think it's Yerman. I believe that's what I have down. So,
thank you for that. So, he's been a long time minor league journeyman, and he's gotten a shot with Chicago, and he also adds on to the tally in the first inning here with an RBI groundout. So, in the first inning of this first game, it is already 2-0 Chicago, and then we jump ahead to the second inning, and Adam Eaton, who had a pretty good series, we'll talk about him a little bit more probably. He ends up robbing Devers of a homer. Did you see that play I'm talking about?
Yeah, that was. It looked almost a little bit like it could have resulted in an injury, at least to me. I don't know, but he did a really nice job on that. Yeah, we'll definitely touch on Eaton because I think he was pretty solid in the outfield this series. So,
do you think that ball would have gotten out? I feel like it would have. Some people are saying it could have been a wall ball double, but I thought that would have gotten out of there.
I think so too. It was really close.
So that was a good defensive play by Adam Eaton, and Dylan Cease is solid for the White Sox for 2 innings. And then in the third, this is where things kind of start taking a turn for the better for the Red Sox. Kike Hernandez is able to double off former Red Sox Yoel Moncada's glove, and he's able to move to third on the wild pitch. And then Alex Verdugo is able to drive him in with a sac fly, so now it is 2-1 White Sox. And then later in the inning, Rafael Devers does the same exact thing. He is able to drive in JD Martinez with a sac fly, so it's now 2-2. And then the game kind of settles down for a bit. Dylan Cease is able to get into a groove, and then Boston eventually heads into the bullpen. You want to talk about how Nick Pivetta pitched? I didn't think he had his best stuff, but if you want to elaborate on how he did in this game.
Yeah, I definitely. It was a little rough to watch Pivetta. I think he pitched 3 innings and 2 outs. I believe it was the second out of the third inning when they pulled him. Yeah, so he didn't get a lot. He was okay, but I don't know. I think he's pitched a little bit better in a few of his past appearances. So I guess we'll see if he can rebound. But yeah, it was a little bit tough to watch, to be honest.
Yeah, I would say this is his worst outing since he came to the Sox late last year. This is probably the one he struggled the most, and he didn't do too bad, like we just said. 3 2/3 and 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts. He was just having trouble. They were really hitting the ball well against him, and pitch count was driving up against him every at bat. So the Red Sox have to end up turning to Josh Taylor and Matt Andriese out of the bullpen. But in the 6th inning, the Red Sox are able to get some more offense going as Kevin Plawecki gets a 2-out double. And then Kike Hernandez, who also had a great series, we'll talk about him more, is able to drive him in with an RBI single. That was his 3rd hit of the game, so Boston takes the lead 3-2. But then in the 7th inning, Matt Andriese gives up a single to Tim Anderson. Tim steals second, and this is what happened after this was kind of a string of more sloppy plays to come in the series where Kevin Plawecki is trying to throw at Tim Anderson, goes off Bogart's glove into the field, and Tim Anderson takes 3rd. And then Moncada is able to drive in TA with a sac fly. Kike made a close throw in center field, but nonetheless it is 3-3. I know people are saying, again, people are brushing this off due to us, getting off to a surprisingly good start so far this year, but I really hope the Red Sox clean up these errors because it's just unacceptable. I mean, this is a team that's not as talented as Red Sox teams have been in years past. So we talked about this, I think, in the first podcast we do, where you could look back at the end of the year and say, if we, fielded this more cleanly here, if we took this more seriously here, there could have been a different outcome. And we could obviously have won more games if we just had played more cleanly. So just hoping the Red Sox can clean up these errors, but 3-3 now. And then do you want to talk about Adam Ottavino and how he came in the game and how he did in this outing? Because, very encouraging if you want to talk about that for a second.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we've touched on Adam Ottavino. I believe the last 2 of these podcasts, the first time was in that series, I believe, against the Orioles, where he was okay. And then obviously last series when he was in the final game of the Twins series, he struggled and gave away the game. I believe that was the last game. Um,
Yeah, he gave up that walk-off single to Gabe Kepler, and
right.
you touched on it too. They
He
cut
was
to him in the
very
dugout.
mad after, yeah, he threw his hat down. He was yelling stuff I won't say for family friendly reasons, but yeah, I actually noted this as the Ottavino the beginning of the Ottavino redemption tour. Like we've touched on too, he came in here as one of the Red Sox potential closer options, one of their better relievers. Hopefully, and yeah, this was definitely a promising inning. Just that 1-2-3 sort of getting it done. He did what he needed to do. He had some nice strikes. He wasn't throwing all over the place. He looked more focused, and yeah, I think he looked more comfortable, and he definitely had a much better inning than the previous appearance he had. So that is definitely, as you said, a promising sign. Because I think the more solid relievers, the better. And I think there's definitely been some relievers that have really stepped up this year, and some that look a little bit inconsistent. So we need the more the better, honestly. So if Ottavino can continue to show out and do what he did in game 2, I believe, right?
Game. So this is the first game of the series. Yep.
Game 1
No,
when
you're good.
he came out. Yeah, if he can continue to do stuff like that, definitely a good look for the Sox.
No, I agree. And I mean, sometimes it just takes these one good outings for people to get going, and hopefully that happens for Ottavino. He did get bailed out by the umpire with that strike 3 call in the final out. But hey, I mean, he put together a good inning, and that's what we needed with a tie game. And then skipping ahead to the 8th inning, Marwin Gonzalez takes Hoyer on the White Sox, Cody Hoyer deep, and that gives the Red Sox the lead back 4-3. And then the bases are loaded, and JD Martinez forces a walk in, so Christian Arroyo gets the score, and that gives us a little insurance. So the Red Sox go 5-3. And then Bogarts, he hit a little awkward double down the line in right field, just out of Adam Eaton's reach. Adam Eaton made a nice dive for it, but that's really a tough play to make, regardless, because Fenway's just such a weird park, and if you haven't played there a lot, then that's obviously not going to do well for you in making these types of plays. So Bogarts gets a ground rule double, 2 more runs score, it makes it 7-3, and then that would pretty much do it for this first game. Barnes comes in. He had a little bit of a shaky 9th inning. He gave up a 2-out double, I think, to Tim Anderson to score 1 run, but nonetheless, Red Sox win 7-4. 4-hit games for both Bogarts and Kike Hernandez, so the Sox take the first game of the series. Are you concerned at all? Because 2 of Barnes' last 3 outings, I think, have been a little shaky, whether it's giving up some hits or giving up some walks. Nonetheless, he still had a stellar start to the year, but is this something that concerns you? Because I don't take too much stock in it.
Yeah, I'd say the same as you. I think if it continues, like most things, then it's potentially an issue. But yeah, I think it's not. Yeah, don't put too much stock in it now. But yeah, and again, it's kind of like the Ottavino thing where if they turn it around, it really depends on the night. So yeah, pretty much what you said.
Right. So the Red Sox ride a big 8th inning to a Game 1 win. So now we head into Game 2. It's the first game of the doubleheader because the original game that was scheduled Friday got rained out. So now, as we explained in a previous podcast, the new rules for these doubleheaders are your 2 7-inning games instead of 2 9-inning games, which we're both fans of. But the first game of the doubleheader is Tanner Houck versus Dallas Keuchel, and I was looking, and I kind of forgot about Dallas Keuchel because I remember he used to pitch with the Astros, and I want to say he might have won a Cy Young. I want to say.
I think in
he did.
2015, right?
Right, because I remember he used to be really good, and then no one wanted to sign him in free agency. But I like him here on the White Sox. So, do you kind of want to get into what happened at the very beginning of this game? Just awful with Tim Anderson. If you want to talk about that for a second.
Yeah, Tim Anderson just
first pitch of the game.
Yeah, Tim Anderson just continuing to be dominant is really what this game showed. Tanner Houck, again, I like him, but there was some struggle there in that first inning. It was rough. Wow.
Very, very first pitch of the game, Tim Anderson takes out of the yard. I like Tim Anderson a lot, though. He's a fun guy to watch. I think he's one of the more fun players in baseball. He's got a great personality. We'll talk about it in the game today. The hot mice caught him, goofing around with some of the Red Sox players. But yeah, he takes the very first pitch of the game out of the yard, 1-0 already. Then basically in the third, Renfroe, we're going to jump ahead a bit because this game is kind of all over the place. Hunter Renfroe makes a nice catch to rob Larry Garcia of a hit. Just talking about that for a second, I feel like all the Red Sox outfielders are playing really well. Renfroe, Renfroe, Verdugo, Cordero. I didn't expect them all to play the field so well, but they're all kind of learning Fenway on the fly and doing a good job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. For being a group of guys who, obviously, Verdugo, this is his second season, but it was a shortened season. And then the rest of those guys are new faces to the team. So, yeah, absolutely. They definitely are adjusting pretty well. I mean, and it's tough, too, when there's the sun shining, especially where Renfroe was yesterday evening, where it's that time of day where the sun's hitting. It's tough. And I think they did really solid, especially for playing day games where, being in the outfield is already tough, but if Fenway, it's even tougher. So for sure, totally agree.
And just jumping back to the whole Tim Anderson home run off the first pitch, I almost forgot when we went to the Sox game the last time. We went to that Sox-Rays game, and I forget who it was on the Rays, but he took Price deep on the second pitch of the game. So
right,
a little bit of a correlation there. Way back in the good old days of the Red Sox, back when they were still a dominant team under Dave Dombrowski. But hey, we're off to a good start this year. But nonetheless, jumping ahead to the bottom of the third, Bobby Dahlback just misses a homer off the Green Monster. This is going to be the first of a couple close calls involving the Green Monster in this series. But Bobby Dahlback gets one off the Green Monster. It's a wall ball double, but he is stranded just right there on second as Kike Hernandez grounds out. And then in the fourth inning, this is where Tanner runs into a little bit of trouble. Jose Abreu runs out an infield single. Yasmani Grandal hits a wall ball double that scores Abreu. And then more chaos as a high bouncing ball. That's getting ahead a little bit. But do you think they let Tanner Houck go on for a little bit too much? They may have been able to take him out right before that hecticness ensued. They might have kept him in for a little bit too long. What do you think about that? I mean, granted, it's a short game with a doubleheader, but do you think they should have taken out Tanner?
Yeah, they probably could have, but I think, again, because it's the shorter game, they just left him in because it was the fourth inning at that point, so there was only really a few innings left at that point. So, and I believe Dallas Keuchel almost pitched the entire shortened game. So,
yeah, I have it right here. He pitched 5 of the 7 innings. So
yeah, so he pitched
for him.
I think they were trying to get as much out of Hogg as they could, possibly to save relievers for the next 2 games. I'm not sure though, but yeah, they could have technically pulled him a bit sooner. That might have helped them a little bit in that situation.
Right. And then in the bottom of the fourth inning, jumping ahead now, a high bouncing ground ball from Hunter Renfroe gets by both Yoan Moncada and Tim Anderson. So he's able to get on base, and that will score JD Martinez. A little bit of a weird hit, but when you're struggling at the plate, you'll take anything you can get. So the score goes from 2-0 to 2-1 Chicago now. And then Hunter Renfroe, we've been talking about this in the last few recaps, how these base running blunders are going to come back to haunt the Red Sox. Essentially, very next batter, Hunter Renfroe gets picked off, and we had runners on first and third, and this kind of ends any threat that the Red Sox had. So I don't know if you're as mad as me whenever we, get caught lacking on the bases, but it's just really frustrating to see.
Yeah, I don't know if it frustrates me as much, but I get your frustration, especially with particular players. So
it's just annoying because we had runners on first and third, and we're already trailing, and Keuchel's doing a pretty good job of shutting us down, and that's just kind of a blown opportunity to me. I get it. There's I think we were going to get at least 6 more batters at that point, but It's just kind of irritating because we could have had something going there, and nonetheless, it just kind of gets squandered because Renfroe gets caught sleeping in between first and second. But nonetheless, we move to the 5th, and in the 5th, former Red Sox prospect Yoan Moncada really comes back to haunt his former team as he gets an RBI single to make it 3-1 Chicago. And then the sixth inning, the Red Sox make a little bit of noise again as Kike Hernandez hits an awkward home run down the right field line. It
Mm-hmm.
hooked kind of past the pesky pole and into the stands, so it made it 3-2. Chicago's still in the lead, but the Red Sox weren't really able to do anything else after that as Hendricks closes it out for Chicago in the seventh, and they end up taking the first game of the doubleheader 3-2.
Mm-hmm.
So moving into the second game of the doubleheader, it is Michael Kopech, who is also another former Red Sox prospect. He was one of the people traded for Chris Sale versus Martin Perez. And do you just kind of want to get into the start of this game here? Yeah, I see you cringing already over there, but why don't you take us forward here?
Perez Day did not go very well. This was the game across the board, pitching and especially defense. I know we've brought up already how this series had a lot of sloppy infield and outfield play, but the Red Sox just looked uninterested at points in this. And honestly, I think Martin Perez even looked a little bit uninterested, giving up runs and hits, and I don't know what Perez was doing. I even saw a tweet of his earlier in the day where he was really like excited. And I was expecting like, okay, maybe, Perez will go out there, and he's not horrible. I don't mind Perez. Like we've said before, he's like a 4-5 guy. He can get it done. He can get strikeouts. He can give you like 4, 5, 6-ish innings between there. But yeah, this was just rough, especially considering how dominant Kopech was, and we could touch on that in a minute. But yeah, Perez really struggled in this game, just from the jump, really. So
right, and I mean you summed it up well. Where we don't mind Perez, he's like a career 4.5 ERA or whatever, like around 4.3 or something like that. Which you can ask for that. That's more than you can ask for out of a number 5 starter. But yeah, Michael Kopech, former Red Sox prospect, pitched really well in this start. Granted, he was on a pitch limit. I think he was only allowed to pitch 40 or 50, but he still did really well. Just the ugliness continued, though, in this game, and we're going to talk about it, but bases loaded in, what was it, the first inning? Let me check right here. Yeah, in the first inning, it was already bases loaded, and Abreu hit into a fielder's choice that made it 1-0. Could have been a double play, but Kike Hernandez couldn't get the ball out of his glove in turn 2, so that was just disappointing to see. And then in the fourth, Yasmin, was it Yasmin or Yerman again?
Yerman Mercedes.
Yeah, Yerman Mercedes takes Perez deep. Just a no doubter. I mean, I think you can agree with me on that. Like as soon as you heard the crack of the bat, I'm like, yep, 2-0.
Yeah, he's a rip hitter. He's got a nice bat, so.
Yeah, and he's spent, I think, like almost probably more than like 5 years in the minors, and White Sox finally gave him a chance last year, and he started off this year hot, and he's going to be a great player for them as a DH. But yeah, so he makes it 2-0, and then later in the inning, this is where the ugliness ensues a little bit more. UMass Lowell alum, if the viewers don't know, that's where I go to school. There's a player who went to my school on the White Sox, Danny Mendick. I believe he was their shortstop this series. He is able to bloop one in between Alex Verdugo and Kike Hernandez. That's just a play where did you expect Verdugo to make that play? The one where it was just a bloop single. He kind of timed the slide a little bit too early, but do you think that's a play he should have made?
I think so. I think he's shown this season so far and last season that he can be he can make smart decisions and be a good fielder. So yeah, I think that was a little bit sloppy on his part.
Yeah, I think he just slid a little bit too early, and it's a little uncharacteristic to see that from him because, as you just said, he's made a lot of fantastic plays in the field so far for us. I remember, I think he like robbed a homer against Toronto last year that was pretty epic, and he's had some nice sliding catches, and the one in Minnesota, and the doubleheader. So that was a little weird to see him mistime that, but nonetheless, Larry Garcia is able to score off the Mendick hit, so that makes it 3-0, and that's the end of the day for Perez. I don't know. Is there any other ugliness? I feel like that was like an ugly kind of ugly time of events. Did I miss anything there, do you think?
No, because you covered the Verdugo, you covered the Kike. I'm trying to think of.
think that
Did
was.
did I just lagged a little bit? Did you say anything there? Sorry.
Oh no, sorry. Did you say something? You were just. I think we were both lagging.
No, was the Plawecki was that one too, or was that a different game? I'm trying to remember. I feel like Plawecki messed something up. I think it
So
was game.
that was game two. I think I have written down. It was game two or game one where he threw it. I think was it game one. Let me see. Yeah, game one he threw it in the outfield. That's the one you're talking about.
Yeah. I think I thought that was game two.
So yeah, that was really just an ugly time of events, or just ugly period of time for the Sox, the Red Sox, that is. So 3-0 at this point, and then very next batter, Nick Madrigal for the White Sox hits one in the left center, and that brings in Mendick, so it makes it 4-0. And in the fourth, the Red Sox end up making a little bit of noise, which eventually forces Kopech out of the game after a stellar outing. JD had an RBI single to bring in Kike Hernandez, but nothing else would really come out of that. The Red Sox would leave runners on first and second. In the sixth inning, Madrigal would also add another RBI to his total for the game, making it 5-1, but that would do it. Hendricks ends up getting the save again. He got the save for both the first game of the doubleheader and the second game of the doubleheader. And Chicago ends up sweeping the doubleheader 5-1. Just a bad 6 hours of baseball for the Red Sox. Not much else really positive to say. You don't want to lose both games of the doubleheader. It's just kind of demoralizing, but that's what ends up happening. So now we head into the final game of the series. It's game 4 between Nathan Eovaldi and Lucas Giolito. Giolito is the ace of the White Sox staff, and he's facing our number one guy at the moment, Nathan Eovaldi. So do you kind of want to take us through what happened in the first inning of this game? Because there was a lot for both teams. Big first inning, if you want to go through all of that.
Yeah, this first inning was crazy. I think this inning in total was almost near 45 minutes, because when I first turned the game on and I had a class, so I had to kind of flip to that. But to really sum this up, Giolito just looked completely lost. And I know he said after the game that he credited the Red Sox for just understanding, but it looked like, and I know we were kind of talking about this over text, it looked like in the top of the first, the Red Sox were in for a bit of a struggle again, because obviously the White Sox, again, first inning, run scored. I saw that. I was like, I don't know. This game might not go too well, because they were having some bad fielding issues. They looked kind of sloppy again, and but Eovaldi he pitched all right, which was promising. And then the bottom of the first came, and this was one of the most insane first innings I've seen in a while. They made Giolito look like a minor league pitcher. They scored 6 runs. 6, or was it 7? It was 6, right?
It was 6 in the first inning, I believe. I have it right here. 6-run first inning for the Red Sox.
Yeah, so they really took advantage. Kike Hernandez started the rally of hits with a really odd home run, kind of like what you said earlier with that pesky pole one. He had a couple very weird, categorically weird home runs, but again, super helpful. That tied the Sox, so I was a little bit optimistic then. I said, okay, they're putting some life into it, and the bats really just continued to come alive after that. Verdugo, and then after that, JD, who has been hitting a little bit better now. He was on a bit of a cool streak. Now he's just he's doing fine.
He was on a cold streak, and he is still hitting like 370. Just insane.
Yeah. He hit, and then after him, I believe Devers was up because Bogarts rested today, and it just felt like this hitting streak was just kept going and going. And obviously, Vasquez had that bunt too, which was super helpful. And I believe Renfroe had a sacrifice in there. So they did a really solid job. And even though, again, it's kind of surprising that guys would be bunting and doing sacrifice type stuff in the first inning, I think it was just to keep the runs going, keep the rally going. And the Sox Giolito got pulled. As we talked about before this podcast, he was pulled in the second inning. He had already thrown 53 pitches, and at that point, he had 0 outs in the second. And Nathan Eovaldi, I think at that time, had a little over 20, 25-ish, 23-ish pitches. So, yeah, this was a very one-sided game pitching-wise, because I know this was slated to be the big Giolito versus Eovaldi, the battle of the aces, because that's
Right.
what we're calling Eovaldi this year. So, yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, those first few innings, the first inning in particular, but I was blown away, and I was so, engaged in this game. It really had my attention. So
yeah, it was a nice treat. Before I get into my analysis of it as well, do you like how it's at 11 in the morning? Like, I always like how these Patriots Day games are super early because you can watch the game and it's over by 2 or the latest 3, so you can still go on and enjoy the rest of your holiday.
Yep.
I don't know if you have anything else to add to that.
No, I agree. It's really nice, and it's good too because it gives people time to watch the marathon or do kind of
Right.
in both. So I like that a lot too. It's just like a historically Boston day. I love that. So
Yeah, and I fully came in expecting this to be the pitching duel between the two aces. I mean, Giolito's been one of the best pitchers in the league so far this year before this game, and Eovaldi's done well for us so far, and he's, kind of having a rebound season too, looking shades of how he was in our World Series run in 2018. So coming in, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a tough game for the Red Sox, that is, or both Sox, I guess, to really score any runs. But that was not the case. They buried the lead to everyone watching. The Red Sox pretty much won this game after the first inning. It really wasn't competitive. The last 8 innings, you really didn't need to play or to watch to see anything. But yeah, in the first inning, like you said, Tim Anderson is able to get things going. He swung at the first pitch again. He's very aggressive in those pitch counts, and he beat out an infield single. And then he went to steal second, and he scored an RBI double. And I'm just thinking, here we go again, like another slow start, which Eovaldi's, I think, gone off to slow starts a lot. He gave up 2 runs in the first against Minnesota. Tampa, he gave up a run in the first. And then in this start, he's given up more runs. So it just speaks to his resilience, how he's able to rebound. But I thought it was just going to be another long game. And then it was a long game, but for all the right reasons, as the Sox were able to get it going in the bottom of the first. The first 6 hitters all had a hit. It was crazy. And we went through 11 batters total in the first inning. Verdugo, JD, Kike Hernandez jumping back a bit, had that crazy home run where I honestly thought, did you think when you first watched it live, like before they went to the replay, did you think it was a homer or did you think it was a double like me? Or a single?
I thought it was a double too because it kind of bounced off and then came back down. I thought that was just going to be a standard double.
Right, because I switched to another tab on my computer for a second, like looking at, I think, like a homework assignment. And then I see Kike hit it. And I'm like, oh, like, great. It's just going to hit off the wall, and he got a single out of it. But then they showed the angle of it, and it hit that like padding up on the top of the green monster, and that means it's a homer. So can't believe I'm saying that this year, but thank God for the replay systems in the MLB. It's it's been atrocious up until this point, but it kind of helped us out there. So that got it going, and then first 6 people, as I said, get on base with hits. Renfroe RBI ground out makes it 4-1 at that point. Franchi gets a single, and then the error made it score 2. And then Bobby Dahlback, I mean, nothing happened after this, but Bobby Dahlback with an amazing at-bat, 14 pitches to draw a walk. Just great plate discipline about the Sox in the last couple of series. Obviously, the Verdugo with the at-bat of the season last series against the Twins with the 10-pitch at-bat, ending in a bases clearing double. And then Dahlback today with 14-pitch at-bat, ending up in a walk. Are you encouraged by how well the Red Sox are at the plate and how good their plate discipline is?
Absolutely. I was definitely impressed by that Dahlback. Just his ability to swing, to keep the ball alive as a foul, or just to know when he for being a technically rookie kind of second year guy, he's been doing a pretty solid job lately, kind of turning things around and swinging at what he should be swinging at, and just as they say in like Little League, like good eye. Like I found myself saying that with with Bobby. As I say, I call him Bobby Baseball, Bobby Dahlbeck, Bobby Baseball today. That really was impressive. And again, like you mentioned with Verdugo, that's great to see because it keeps the Sox offense alive. You know, even if they go down in either a walk or a strikeout, it just makes it more entertaining to watch than just a simple walk or a simple 1, 2, 3 done. So I think that resiliency is going to be helpful. And like in the Verdugo situation, sometimes it's pretty time consuming and it takes a while, but sometimes will pay off. And I know later in this game too, Tim Anderson had something similar where he was Evaldi was pitching to him and he just kept hitting fouls and staying alive. And obviously he's a really solid bat. So to see younger guys like Verdugo and Dahlbeck that are kind of finding their ground in the Red Sox organization, it's great. It's really good. It's really promising to see for sure.
Right. No, I absolutely agree. The more you can drive up the pitch count of the opposing pitcher, the better. And, it's just general baseball. Like you were talking about Little League, like when you're down 0-2, just make sure you protect the plate. And even though I don't think Bobby got down 0-2 at any point, he's just protecting the point with all those foul tips and all that. So just a great at bat. But unfortunately, nothing came out of that. But nonetheless, the Red Sox have a big first inning, 6 runs. And then, like I said before, that was really the dagger. I can't believe I'm able to say a game was decided in the first inning, but it really was. In the second, JD actually homers to make it 7-1 into the Green Monster. And then Renfroe gets a sac fly later in the inning to bring in Rafael Devers to make it 8-1. In the third, Madrigal for the White Sox continues his great series. He got a triple, and then he was drove in by Adam Eaton, who had a good series and a good game today to make it 8-2. Then Verdugo, excellent home run into the bullpen, or like just above the bullpen. Just crushed the heck out of it. He's done a great job hitting the ball to the opposite field, but this time he hits a dead away right field. Makes it 9-2. Cordero gets a base hit 10-2 in the fourth or whatever. I think it was the fourth. And then in the fifth, Adam Eaton gets another RBI to make it 10-3 to bring in Tim Anderson. As you said before, that was the at-bat before where Tim Anderson was able to fight off a ton of pitches from Evaldi and eventually find a way to get on base. So that was the end of Evaldi's day. As he leaves, it's 10-3. He ends the day with 10 Ks, just one short of getting that career-high 11 strikeout, but nonetheless a fantastic day for Evaldi. I'm able to look past, people are going to say he didn't have his best stuff today, but he was really good. All these analytics guys or whatever are going to say, 4 earned runs, that wasn't good. Like, so what? Like, I don't know how you feel about that, but I thought this was a great start today for Nasty Nate.
Yeah, I mean, he had 10 strikeouts. He tied his career high, almost 11. But again, Tim Anderson's a solid bat, so that was a struggle for Evaldi. But yeah, he went 7-ish innings. I think 7 and 2 outs, 7 and 1 out, something like that.
So he went 6 1/3 innings actually, but into the 7th. Yeah.
Yeah, so he did well. Yeah, like you said, analytic people and sometimes, just people that are really intense and criticizing certain pitchers and players. Yeah, I mean, 4 runs isn't, phenomenal. It's not like 0 runs scored or anything, but honestly, it didn't feel like, even though it was 4 runs, it didn't feel like it was like, oh, like, I don't know. It felt fine to me. Like you said, it felt pretty good. I mean, you could definitely tell he was giving it his all, and some of the outs he got were really solid too. Some of the strikeouts. So he had guys swinging at pitches that were pretty weird pitches, and he was really mixing it up. And yeah, the Nasty Nate name lives on. He's been decent this year. Like you mentioned earlier, he has given up early runs, but his resiliency, again, like you mentioned too, I think I felt the same way where he continued to be solid, and where Giolito got pulled early, I was worried. Like for me, when I see the Red Sox, even though they had the 6-1 lead, I was like, let's see how Evaldi does. Does he give up the lead? And he did a good job just hanging in there, and the Red Sox continuing to put on runs to help him out. So it felt good. It felt like a solid effort from Evaldi. So I'm really liking what we're seeing from him. And I know some people were critical too when the Red Sox re-signed him But he was okay last year. This team was just really rough. But I think this year he could be a solid, potentially third guy, second guy, really, depending on how Erod continues to progress and Chris Sale, like you mentioned, too, coming back later in the year. Yeah, we just really got to see. But I thought Evaldi was really, really solid, even though, again, he had the 4 runs.
No, I agree. And I mean, people are going to say, like, oh, again, 4 runs, that's not good. But I don't really care how many runs he gives up. Like, we had this game in the bag after the first inning. So,
Right.
he doesn't have to have his best stuff or give up the 0 runs for it to be an amazing start. 10 strikeouts, really good. I mean, he had good stuff today. It was just, the White Sox were able to get some timely hits. And I think even though they're going to say he gave up 4 runs, like he really gave up 3 because Adam Eaton on that second RBI double hit one in the left. That Franchi Cordero, I don't know if you saw that play. He really could have made a play on that ball, but
Yeah.
that's just, the stigma that comes with playing in the Green Monster at Fenway. Obviously, Franchi's played it pretty well. He played it well in the Tampa series, so,
Yeah.
he just made an error there. I mean, they didn't actually charge him a physical error. It was just more a mental error by him to, watch the ball drop, but that was one he could have caught, but it is what it is. And then Adam Eaton in the 7th gets another RBI ground out to make it 10-4. So the White Sox are just kind of chipping away, but this game's been in hand for a while. Then things get a little weird. So I don't know if you were surprised by this, but the White Sox on the bottom of the 7th kind of waved the white flag a little bit early, and they brought in Yerman Mercedes to come in and pitch, a position player.
Mm-hmm.
Were you kind of surprised by that? Because I thought it was a little too early to do that because it's the bottom of the 7th, and they're going to get, 6 more chances to make up some ground in this deficit. I thought they were waving the white flag a little too early.
I think so too. I found that at that point it was really odd to put him in. Honestly, I mean, I get saving relievers and things like that, but that was just that really did feel to me like a white flag too, where it was just like, all right, this game's over. Like, who cares anymore, really?
And yeah, like they still have a chance to try and chip away at the deficit. It's only 6 runs, and a lot can happen in 2 innings. So that was just really weird to me. Like, I understand what you were saying for sure. I agree with that. Like, saving relievers, that makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
But for a guy like Tony La Russa, this 75-year-old guy, he's a legendary manager.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like his tactics or his strategy is like, oh, no, the game's not over until it's over. Like, I thought that'd be his mantra. So for him to agree to wave the white flag this early was kind of surprising to me.
It was.
But do you think that, like, due to the COVID pandemic, because I'm going to switch gears for a bit and talk about the NBA, where this season, a lot of teams are waving the white flag earlier than usual because of the pandemic and having to play games like more back-to-backs.
Definitely.
Do you think that the pandemic played a role maybe in the White Sox calling this game a little bit early? And do you think more teams are going to also do that, where you don't want to waste more arms than you have to because you don't know what can happen with cancellations and all that, and like double headers needing to come up? So do you think that the COVID pandemic played a role in the White Sox essentially giving up early in this game?
I definitely do, because we see outbreaks happen like we did with Minnesota right after the Red Sox played them. Obviously, Alex Cora, I think you mentioned that in the last podcast where he went to get vaccinated or tested right after the game because the Minnesota Twins had a COVID outbreak, and
That's right.
The Red Sox just played them. So that might have played a role too, maybe because even though the Red Sox had no reported cases, the White Sox might have wanted to play it safe. But yeah, the NBA, same thing. Like you mentioned, a lot of teams kind of not giving it their all. Players still feeling the effects, like Tatum, using an inhaler, having effects from COVID. I definitely think that could play a role because I think teams, they want to save arms. So that way, if say there's an outbreak and like the bullpen and like, all the pitchers are practicing together, or all the outfielders are practicing together. If a certain position, the practice, there's an outbreak, one case, and it spreads to teammate to teammate because it can spread really quick. Yeah, definitely. I mean, to have, and even with certain positional players too, I noticed a lot of teams will switch out too, and I mean that's pretty typical. But I feel like I'm noticing that more. I don't know if that's just me or I'm wrong or whatever, but I feel like I've noticed like more teams substituting players more and players taking time and things like that. So I totally think that could have played a role. Honestly, it might have just been them wanting to get the game over with quicker, or it might have been that it could really honestly be either. But I think that's a really solid take.
Right, because with COVID and the outbreaks, as you said, you don't know when these teams are going to have to play doubleheaders again. So why waste an arm in a game that may be out of reach when you can save that for down the line when you really need it in a more important game or in a more important situation? So yeah, Yerman Mercedes comes in for the White Sox and he walks Franchi Cordero right away, and Franchi Cordero steals second. And I don't know if you caught the announcer talking about this, but they basically said that Franchi Cordero stealing second in a 6-run game in the 7th was kind of disrespectful and kind of a way to indicate that the Sox don't really care about the integrity of the game and they want to keep running up the score. Do you get that vibe from that? I mean, I feel like the commentators were just reading too much into it. Like, this is baseball. Like, I don't believe in, the whole, like, no running up the score thing. Like, score when you can, play as hard as you can until there's, 27 outs in the game. I think the commentators were making just too much out of nothing.
Yeah, that was, as you would say, an embellishment of that. I don't.
Aha, there you go.
No, I don't know who said that. I think I missed that on the broadcast, but
Jerry Remy and Dave O'Brien. So the NESN broadcaster, I like them. They're good commentators. Nothing against them. We're not about to turn to everyone watching. We're not about to turn into Felger and Maz and just diss people for no reason.
They're OGs. That's respect, but
right. So Cordero gets walked by Mercedes. Keep in mind, a position player, and he steals second. He steals it because they called it a defensive indifference because both the second baseman and the shortstop were nowhere near second. So Cordero just basically got a free run to second, but to steal. But then after that happened, Remy's like, oh, I don't know how the White Sox bench will feel about that, stealing second in a 6-run game. They don't care. Tony La Russa's old school. He understands. Like, you put runs on the board as much as you can. Like, there's no mercy. There's no mercy rule. So, again, I think they were reading too much into that, but just a little highlight on Mercedes. The very next batter, I forget who it was, but he gets them the line into a double play. So it really didn't matter because they got Cordero out at second on like a line out, throw him out, double play. But then JD Martinez was able to get an RBI single, make it 11-4. And then the 8th inning, the White Sox bring in another position player, Danny Menlick, the UML alum, and he actually gets Franchi Cordero to strike out. So do you think the Red Sox bench gave Cordero a hard time for getting struck out by a position player?
I think so. Probably.
Yeah, because it's pretty embarrassing. That's like I know they often talk about in football where if you're corner and you're getting an interception, you're running down the sideline, and if the quarterback tackles you, you hear it a lot from the coaches and everyone on the sideline. So I feel like JD Martinez or someone or like Cora just like, giving Cordero a hard time. But yeah, that was really the last highlight. Garrett Whitlock, I think he had 3 innings of relief, I want to say. Yeah, 2 1/3. Comes in, gets the job done after Evaldi. Red Sox win 11-4, and we were able to get a series salvaging win and get a series split. So the Red Sox take 2 and the White Sox take 2. Just to touch on Whitlock for a second, I mean, he's been awesome so far. What a find by Chaim Bloom in the Rule 5 draft to get him from the Yankees. So far this season, he has 5 2/3 innings, 0 runs given up. I mean, just incredible.
Yeah, no, he really is, especially too today coming in. And yeah, he is good. I'm really excited to see Whitlock's progression. I think that could be a potential steal. Honestly, it already is starting to look like that. So for sure.
And he's only 24 too, and it's just he's only going to go up from here. And it has been a few days since we've seen him come out of the pen. The Red Sox. They talked about this on the broadcast, too, where the Red Sox are kind of spacing out the times that he makes appearances. Apparently, Cora and Chaim Bloom are potentially considering turning him into a starter instead of keeping him coming out of the pen. Is that something you want to see? And do you feel like he could be effective in, pitching 6 innings instead of coming in every few days and only pitching 3 innings maximum? Because I'm willing to try that out.
Yeah, I think try it out and honestly see how it goes. If he pitches as well as he has been in relief, then you have a guy. If not, and he's still doing okay, but he's struggling a little more in like the long run. Like he's starting to maybe give up runs later on, or he's just struggling off the bat. I'd say move him back to the pen. So I think they could play around with that and see how it goes. But I mean, seeing as well as he's done so far, I wouldn't mind potentially starting him. If guys like Pivetta or Perez continue to kind of struggle or just perform, give average performances, I think you might see Whitlock start in replacement of one of those guys and maybe either move them to the pen or just have their spot get moved up or down. I don't know, just continue to watch. I think give him a few more appearances in the pen, maybe against some more tougher teams. Like the White Sox are obviously a pretty solid team. So yeah, let him maybe up in this series against the Blue Jays. I mean, it's kind of soon, or maybe even the Mariners. Those are 2 pretty solid teams. So just see how he does in the pen. And honestly, if he continues to pitch as well as he has, then you might have the guy, really. So
yeah, I'm all for toying with that idea of making him into a starter. You can't have enough depth for starting pitching, especially if you're the Red Sox when we really need that moving forward into the future. So if we have a doubleheader and it's a 7-inning game, I wouldn't mind throwing Garrett Whitlock in there to start because it's a shorter inning or a shorter game overall. So I wouldn't mind trying that out. My phone's, going off in the background. Okay, there we go. It's off now. Yeah, though, I like Garrett Whitlock, though. He's done well out of the pen. And if you want to toy with the idea of putting him in as a starter, or maybe we could do like what the Rays do. And what they like to do is they put a reliever in to start the first 2 innings of the game, and then they go with their starter for potentially the rest of the way. So maybe we could try doing something like that with having Garrett Whitlock become an opener. But yeah, I'm all about just toying around with all these different options and seeing what fits, trying out all these puzzle pieces and seeing what fits. That's going to do it for the series, though. So now we'll get into our players of the series. So why don't you start out by telling us who you gave your players of the series to for the Red Sox?
Alrighty, so kind of running through this, we got for the Red Sox, my player of the series overall, I got to give to Kike Hernandez because I think his bat is really warming up. He's had some nice fielding. I like that he could switch between second and outfield as well. I like how he's a little bit versatile with that and willing to do that. And yeah, his bat's been hot. I mean, he had a few pretty weird home runs, but that's what you want. Honestly, you want productive offense, and I kind of like having him at the leadoff spot. Actually, I was a little when he was hitting, I think 2 for 18 to start, and he was kind of struggling. I was a little bit concerned, like why is he still hitting leadoff? But I think he's really cemented his place there. I like having him as the leadoff hitter because he's showing he can really show up. And then I also just put Vasquez as just like a side note. I think Vasquez had a solid series behind the plate and just he did what he needed to do. He had some decent defensive moments, and he was hitting better too, which I know he was in a bit of a slump as well, kind of like JD. I think this series kind of helped him warm up a little bit, especially today. I think he was 3 for 3. Obviously, he had that bunt, which wasn't a huge hit or anything, but he had helpful plays like that. He was quick on getting to base there, and and then obviously Evaldi for the pitcher, and then for the reliever Whitlock. I also just noted Ottavino because I'm proud of Ottavino. I'm proud of a man that's like 35 years old. It's like
former Yankee too. Never thought I'd be.
Yankee. I can't believe I'm rooting for a former Yankee, but yeah, let's go Ottavino. Keep it up. Keep it up.
Yeah, there we go.
The Ottavino slander cast or anything. I just know we've been hard on him lately. So.
Right. I mean, maybe it'll be like the Matt Andrees situation where we're hard on Andrees, and now he's kind of actually doing well. So
it's not that bad.
We'll see what happens from here. But yeah, I had Kike Hernandez as my number one player. He had a 4-hit game in game 1 of the series in the last couple of games. Again, as you said, hit some weird home runs, but nonetheless putting runs on the board. Playing some solid defense also, as you said, at all the positions. Very versatile. And then honorable mentions to Verdugo for the homer today in a 3-hit game. JD hitting the ball well. He also homered today. Devers with some timely hits, some timely singles, what have you. Then Vasquez as well, as you said. I forgot to mention him. He really needed to get going today because before today he wasn't that hot. But as you said, he's serviceable behind the plate. But he had a nice 3-hit day. 3-hit day today. I think he had 3 hits through the first 4 innings, which is phenomenal. And then for my pitcher, Nate Eovaldi, just excellent outing today, 10 strikeouts. Red Sox do a great job of giving him a ton of run support too. So just a phenomenal outing for him. And we're going to need him to keep doing this as the season progresses into the late summer when hopefully we can get Sale back. So how about your White Sox players of the series?
Okay, so for my White Sox, I had Tim Anderson. Obviously, we talked about Tim Anderson a lot. Really great bat, consistent hitter. Pretty good defensively too. Pretty solid series. I thought Tim Anderson gave even guys like even our better pitchers and relievers, guys like Eovaldi, he gave a tough time. And he's quick. He's able to steal bases. He's just a solid all around player. As you mentioned earlier too, he has a really fun personality. He's just a really likable player. And also
fun.
Hashtag fun, exactly. He gets it. And Yerman Mercedes as well. I just think it's really cool. As we mentioned earlier too, he's 28 and a rookie. He's getting his shot and he's hitting really well. His batting average this year is I think it's above. It's like a 0.4 something, 6.5-ish something. It's really solid. He had that 8 hits in a row early.
8 for 8 to start the year. Yep.
That's crazy. And he was hitting really well this series. And he pitched too, which I thought was cool to see a DH pitch a little bit. Obviously, he did the best he could. It's not like he was like he pitched amazing innings or anything. I like his story. I like his the power in his bat. I think he was solid. And then for the pitcher, I had Kopech. I think that's how you say his last name, Michael Kopech.
Yep.
He had a really solid outing. Obviously, he was on with restricted pitches, but he got it done. He got it done with the man bun under the sun. Let's go. That's all I got.
There we go.
White Sox players. I think they had it was a split, so they had some really solid play, and guys like Eaton too. You can touch on who you had, but I know you mentioned him, but there were a lot of really solid performances on the White Sox too. So
yeah, so for my White Sox players, I had Tim Anderson. Just seemed to be everywhere this series, playing good defense at short, running out plays in the infield, hitting power as well, stealing bases. Just all around good series for him. Honorable mentions to Adam Eaton. He was eaten at the plate, to be punny. He had a great last game here. Got hits in all the games, I think, or I think he went 0 for 3 on one of the games yesterday, but at least 1 hit in 3 of the 4 games. Madrigal, another honorable mention, came to the series red hot. I think he was like hitting 7 for 14 or something like that. He had a triple today, had 2 RBIs in game 2 of the doubleheader yesterday. And then for the pitcher, Michael Kopech, just former Red Sox prospect, making his pay on a pitching limit, but nonetheless did really well in the second game of the doubleheader yesterday. So hoping for the best for him in his career. He got into a little trouble in the minors with the Red Sox. He had to deal with the suspension, and I didn't want to have to trade him away for Sale, but I feel like this is going to end up being a win-win trade for both teams at the end of the day. So before we wrap up this podcast, the Red Sox, as I would like to remind everyone, do have a series coming up against the Toronto Blue Jays. It's a 2-game set, which is a little weird because we're getting used to these 4-game sets in Boston. But how do you think this series against the Blue Jays is going to go if you had to predict? Keep in mind they have pretty hard-hitting offense with Bo Bichette. What's that guy's, the third baseman's name? I forget. Vladdy Guerrero Jr., I think is his name. Yeah. I don't know. I forgot that. George Springer, they just added in the offseason. How do you think this series is going to go for the Sox?
Because it's a 2 game series, I'm gonna just say a split. That's what I said for this series. I think it's 2 games. If it was 3, I might pick a little differently, but I'm gonna go with the split. Because as you mentioned, the Blue Jays are very improved from a few years ago. They've got some really solid bats, like you said, Springer and Vladdy and Bo Bichette, who that Yankees Blue Jays series, he crushed it. He's been really hitting well. So yeah, they've got a really powerful offense. They might give Erod some trouble. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who's pitching after that in the second game. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the split just because I don't think the Red Sox will lose 2 in a row. I just think they have too much fight in them. And I mean, I know they lost the doubleheader, but I mean, in 2 consecutive days, it's night games. They're at home. I just don't see them losing both. But the Blue Jays are a really good team thus far. I definitely see the Rays maybe pulling ahead to first when all's said and done in the AL East. I think it might be a fight between the Blue Jays and Red Sox for second at this point. Yes, I'm dissing you, Yankee fans. If you guys come around,
They're hurt.
sorry, but
They're so hurt.
said, the Blue Jays are better than you. The Orioles are better than you. It has to be said. It's all I'm going to say.
Ricky throwing shots. How will they ever recover with their $1 billion payroll? No, we don't feel bad for the Yankees over here. Look, I mean, it's a big rivalry, but yeah, talking about the Blue Jays series, I think we're going to split 2. I was just looking at my phone to see who's starting in game 2. Garrett Richards. So we're going to win game 1 and we're going to lose game 2. That's my prediction. I don't know. Do you agree with that? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And big PSA, I almost said PSI. I don't know why. Big PSA to the Red Sox. If any one of you are watching this, please get out to an early lead in these games. The Blue Jays are going to make us pay if we fall behind. We're not facing some, average Joe offense. The Blue Jays are a powerhouse just like us.
Absolutely.
So pitching might be pretty bad this series, but hey, I mean, I think the Red Sox can take one game. And it's important to win these divisional games early on in the year. But that's really going to wrap it up for this podcast. Thank you, everyone who tuned into this one. Another great series for the Red Sox. Not great, sorry. Good, not great, but nonetheless, the Red Sox are still off to a good start. We're 11-6 at the very end of all this. So that's going to do it. In the future, let me remind you all that there will be Celtics recaps coming, probably closer to the playoffs. Same with the Bruins. Reality TV recaps coming in the summer. Maybe Patriots recaps coming in the fall. Everyone, please absorb that like button, absorb that subscribe button, share these videos with your friends, tell them about it, tell everyone to comment what you liked, what you didn't like, what you think about both of us, what's your favorite food, what's your favorite pet. That's going to pretty much do it for this recap. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Ricky, as always, it's a pleasure. We'll be doing this again soon, and I will talk to you guys later. Have a good one.